Welcome to Bolton FM, Jenny. As you know, this is the week of the International Nursing Day, recognition of the heroes that we've had, and particularly had in the last 12 months. Just tell us what it's been like for you as a hospice nurse this last 12, 16 months.
The role for the nurses at the hospice has changed considerably over this past 12 months. Obviously at the hospice, we're all about, helping the patient, but also the families as well. A big issue for us has been communication with our patients. A lot of them are older, some are hard of hearing, and when, you've got all your PPE on, you can barely hear each other when you're talking to each other, but, let alone the patients sometimes, which can be really difficult. Or if somebody's hard of hearing and they have to lip read, you have to have your PPE, you have to have your mask on to obviously protect yourself and them as well. So it has been really difficult. At the hospice, especially on the ward, we have a lot of volunteers that come in and help. So they may do a couple of hours on reception, or they might come onto the ward and help, with meals and making, cups of teas and things. So a lot of the volunteers that come onto the ward have had to shield. So we've not had them. They're only just starting to come back now, which is fantastic. We've really missed them all a lot. So the nurses have had to pick up a lot of extra roles here and there that we're not used to doing ourselves. Another thing obviously that has been difficult throughout nursing, not just at the hospice, is reduced visiting of family. Like I say, we're very much about helping family through difficult times as well as patients. And normally we'll have every man and his dog. You might walk into a room and you'll have, brothers, sisters, grandchildren. You might even have, a dog in there sometimes.
Right, have the dog, yeah.
But we've not been able to do that. We've obviously had to reduce visiting. Thankfully, we do allow visiting, but you can only have 2 nominated visitors at any one time, which is a lot better than, at the hospital where they haven't been allowed anybody there at all. Sometimes you might have a patient who has been transferred from the hospital and the relatives come in, they might not have seen them for, weeks. And they've changed dramatically in that time. So it's quite emotional, and it has been really difficult. Yeah.
Would you say that the time has enhanced your love of nursing, or has it made it difficult?
I think it's made us all a little bit stronger in some ways. A lot of us have families of our own, and we've had to come into work and we've had to look after these patients, but we've put their needs, and above our own. We've had to step in knowing the dangers, knowing that, we've still got to go back home to our families at the end of the day. And obviously we have had a couple of outbreaks ourselves throughout the staff, which has been really difficult. But I think it's made us stronger in the fact that, we're all there to support each other and, get each other through the hard days. So it's made us stronger as a team.
Just before we let you go, obviously times are getting better, a lot more people vaccinated, but in Bolton, particularly in Bolton, we've still got outbreaks happening. Sadly, what message would you give to anybody about the vaccination?
Obviously the staff at the hospice, we've had our vaccinations, and I'd say, it is the way forward. We are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel finally. We see people at the hospice, in these situations where they can't see people, and it just breaks your heart, and we need it to end. We need things to get back to normal. we lost a nurse ourselves last year. It's just been the anniversary of her F for Jill. And sometimes people think, you're just being pedantic, with the rules. But, we've lost someone ourselves. We've lost a member of our family as well. So, please get the vaccination, and, we need to move forward.
That's great. Well, thanks very much for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Hopefully this time next year we'll be able to celebrate Nurses Day just a bit easier.
Yay.
Good morning, Melanie. Thanks for joining us here at Bolton FM. We're celebrating the International Nursing Day. Tell our listeners about nursing, particularly at the hospice, and then particularly about what you do.
I'm obviously Melanie. I'm team leader for the Hospice at Home team. And my role and my team's role is to transfer our hospice philosophy into the home. So instead of patients coming into the hospice, we transfer the care out into the home. So we look at specialist palliative care and end-of-life care, and we work alongside the district nursing teams and the GPs in the community. And it's to deliver the best care to patients that want to be at home. And the biggest part of our role is supportive care for the families and the carers, because it's hard and it's 24 hours a day and night. So I think we deliver a good service to the people of Bolton who want to remain at home.
I mean, that service has been around for quite some time, but it's become critical during the pandemic, hasn't it? That you've had to do more and more at home. How difficult has that been?
At the beginning of the first wave, we anticipated an organisation as the hospice that the inpatient unit would be busy, but because of restrictions and visiting, people were choosing to remain at home. So the community teams were busy. So to support the community teams, the Hospice at Home team, we ran as two teams and went out just to support the community. And, it's hard at any time wearing PPE, but, putting PPE on in the wind and the rain and all weathers is difficult. And going back to the beginning, I think we felt something like out of a film set, out of a movie, because it just was very surreal. And obviously we've never worked in that way. And I think for patients, for families, when we were walking in, they couldn't see our faces, especially when we had the full hubs on. It was really quite frightening, but it's become the new norm. We do it to protect ourselves, to protect patients and families, but I think people have just got so used to it now. And I think it's, from where we've come from 15 months ago, it's just part and parcel of every day now.
How many are in your team?
We were originally just two nurses that went out, and each day now there's two teams. There's two nurses in two teams. It was always two qualified nurses that went out, but to meet the need, we've mixed the skill mix. So we've got trained nurses and clinical support nurses that go out. So it just depends on the visits that we've got, but we've done that to meet demand.
I take it, so demand has increased.
It has. I think what we've seen is patients that would usually be either in hospital or coming to the hospice have remained at home. And a lot of that has been done with because of visiting, and people have wanted to be with families, with friends. And I think that's been the driving force. There was a lot of fear, especially in the first wave, about going into hospital. So people were very keen to remain at home.
In talking to others, one of the things that has been said is that you've had to have the role of nurse, but in a lot of cases you've had to have the role as family. Is that the same when you're actually going into the home?
I think maybe we were in slightly a different position, because the reason people were staying at home was to be with families, and there were support bubbles at home. So it was slightly different. But I think for some people, it was that lack of people going in because they were in the bubble or they were just isolating together. So it has been very different all the way through, yeah. But I think we're seeing a difference now as we're coming out of lockdown, yeah.
What would you say to a young student nurse? What would you say to them about becoming a hospice nurse?
I think maybe to come on a placement I don't think people really fully understand and appreciate what hospice nurses do. You know, there's a lot of different roles within a hospice because we have different services running, but I think what you put in, you will learn so much. And a lot of what we do is just be open and honest with people, and it's key, and you can transfer it to any speciality in nursing.
Well, thanks very much for joining us. Great appreciation for what you do. Just before we let you go, if you could make a request, a dedication as a song, what would you choose?
Oh, I do listen to Coldplay, so probably one of my favourites is A Sky Full of Stars.